Let's go ahead and jump into the first question. The first step is always to identify the angle of focus. The angle of focus is going to be the angle that's given to you in terms of a number value. So since we got the 58 degrees here, I know that's my angle of focus. I label that. The next thing I want to do is identify the different sides of the triangle and label them. So an easy way that you can always remember the sides is know that Goku, he stands at the angle of focus, right? So he's going to throw his energy ball at his opponent. So your opponent, meaning that over here, this side has to be my O for opposite side, because that's where the opponent is. Then we want to label our hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always across in the right angle. So you can turn this box right here into an arrow, and it points right at your hypotenuse. And by default, this is going to be your adjacent side. And you know adjacent means next to. So we got that. After you have the sides labeled, you want to identify what do you want, meaning what side do you want to find, and what side do you have? What side do you know already? Okay, well, the side that I want is going to be X, and that side is the opposite. The side that I have, they gave me a numerical value for 25, is going to be my hypotenuse. So based on that now, the next step is to say, is it going to be so, ka, or toa? Which one of these are we going to use? Okay, which one of these are we going to use? Well, based on the fact that so is the only one that has the O and the H, it has to be this one that we use. Bet. So once we have that, now let's go and fully solve. So it's going to be the sine of 58 degrees is going to be equal to opposite over hypotenuse. But then now I'm going to plug in the actual values for that, right? So sine of 58 degrees, I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to plug that in. Of course, double check your calculator, make sure it's in degree mode. Then, after I put sine of 58, it's going to be 0.8480. I recommend that you always round to at least 4 digits of the decimal when you're doing your calculations so that you can keep it accurate. And I know that's going to be equal to my opposite, which is X, over my hypotenuse, which is 25. Awesome. Once I have this set up, I'm going to put this over 1, and then I'm going to cross multiply and solve for X. So I cross multiply here. X times 1 is going to give me X. And then 25 times 0.840. I'm just going to plug that into the calculator. 0.8480 times 25, and I'm going to get 21.2. If I round it to that nearest, well, 21.2 is exactly what you get, but if we round it to nearest 10th, it still comes out to 21.2. And then that's it. That means X is equal to 21.2. Let's try another example real quick, right? Make sure that we have it down. So I'm looking at this one. Again, identify my angle of focus. From here, I know that if I drew Goku here, of course, that's going to be my opposite side. I identify this here. It's going to point down here, and it's going to be my hypotenuse. And that's going to give me my adjacent side. This one happens to be the same. Well, if I'm looking at so, ka, toa, and I have O and H that I'm dealing with, so then it got to be also so. So that means that we're going to get the sine of 25, come on now, is going to be equal to opposite, which is X, over hypotenuse, which is 39. Now I plug that into the calculator. I get 0.4226 equals to X over 39. From here, I put this over 1, cross multiply and simplify. So it's going to be X equals to Let me just go ahead and calculate that. Give me 1 second. 0.4226, and then I'm going to do times 39. And there we go. I'm going to get 16.4814. And if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, this 8 tells me that I got to go up and not stay. So it's going to be 16.5. So I know both these examples came out the sine, but it goes without saying, all examples are not going to come out the sine. As long as you check for what you want and what you have, you'll know which one to apply. There will be some questions where after you cross multiply, you probably have to divide to solve for x. But for the most part, this is the flow of how you handle this section.